what's your take on, do you think some people are so focused on gear that they sort of neglect the training component?
Yeah, that's a trend that's been around as long as firearms have been. Um, the There's always a tendency to the proverbial look for hardware solutions to software problems, because it seems easier or faster. And don't get me wrong, there are certainly hardware things that will help you advance in your capabilities. And one of the things that I took from aviation into the firearms field and the ground side is that the capabilities of your system can certainly affect how well you can implement tactics, if not the tactics themselves. So the equipment advantages are absolutely very real, but if you try to skip the hard part, which is fundamentals of marksmanship and shooting capability, and the time you need to put in, there's no shortcut to that stuff, and you can't fix it with equipment. Things like the Maztec X4 FCS, you can certainly cheat the code on learning ballistic calculations and things like that.
Thank God.
But on the fundamentals of shooting and positional stuff, and so some of the biggest things that I think get ignored, positional shooting. There's a lot of emphasis that I think people put on CQB distances and running 10 thou splits into a target that isn't moving or reacting. And that can be, from a standing position, and that certainly those skills are 100% applicable. But depending on what you're doing with a firearm, some of the positional stuff becomes very, very important, especially when you're into compromised positions. You're wearing a bunch of gear and things like that. And as the wake up call for positional stability is when you start shooting, a 308 gasser, right? Where the recoil is more, that during dwell time, the rifle moves more. And now it's like, well, my zero's jacked. I'm like, nah, man, your position just isn't stable. Some of the things also that I think fundamentally folks don't understand is, and Latham has been on this for a lot of years, and it's something that I picked up, or certainly I picked up on earlier, is the shooting fundamentals of shooting and what exactly you need to do and be focusing on. People say, well, you just need to execute whatever you need to do to shoot accurately in a compressed timeline and do it faster. And it's like, well, the reality is things change when you're trying to shoot faster, or take shots of opportunity that, may be presented in a small window. So compressing those fundamentals, there are some differences in how you're going to do things, and understanding those things and when to apply them. Those are things I think that get ignored or glossed over, and a lot of things like, oh, this is it. This is how your fundamentals of marksmanship work. And the bottom line is, it's, an initiation and completion of the firing sequence without unacceptably disturbing your sight alignment sight picture. And that's what it comes down to. But that's a pretty big, difference in what happens at 7 yards or 25 yards and the size of your target, and what needs to happen at 1, 2, 500 meters. And so it's this weird, kind of rheostat on precision versus compressed application of fundamentals that needs to occur, and what is an acceptable, kind of distortion of the sight alignment sight picture.